I'll just, while other people work up their gumption to come up, I'll read another thing. This is called Written in Light. The prompt, I guess, was a conversation my wife and I had about what aliens would think of us if they looked through like the distance and kind of saw us.
Would or do?
Good question. A moderately sized planet, afloat in a distant spiral galaxy orbiting an unremarkable star, has taken the Tardigradian nations by storm. For thousands of star cycles, they've been capturing the imaginations of the countless people watching from their pods, both planet-side and satellite alike, brought together by the light of the tiny blue bead. The little exoplanet that defied all reason and persisted at all costs despite itself, possibly to spite itself, millions of light years away from our humble empire. This tiny little dot and its two-legged folk walking upon it became something of a cultural phenomenon. We have become the cheerleaders for a people likely long past. We used to believe they might outlive their star, go on to visit other planets, meet their neighbors like we did, but recent transmissions from our probes spell tragic end on the horizon for our distant friends, whom we've seen climb down from trees, invent tools, writing cities, and more. But then they never stopped at a reasonable spot. No amount of self-inflicted suffering they brought in the name of that momentum would stop them. Progress and the comfort that comes with it not being unlike an intoxicant for these people. Addicts always trying to justify the means. Their world has so rapidly grown warmer in that time since we've been observing them. Soon it would be outside the narrow window in which they could reasonably survive. We watched, screaming at our screens, it's the fuel that's causing the rise. They'd gone this long burning the dead and expected no consequence. It's not their fault they're short-sighted. That's how they evolved. A mere 100 years or so, that's a lifetime for these feeble creatures. Hardly enough to gain wisdom, let alone pass it down. Nevertheless, they lived, they loved, they thrived, surprising even the most generous of our expectations. Against all odds, they learned and they grew. Eventually, they did see, the brightest of them did realize their jeopardy and speak the truth. Just in time, they would unite as they did so many times before, or so we thought. Instead, they fought more. Even on the edge of extinction, they dig in their trenches, they pick their sides, their great imaginations that helped them build the world, now affixing them in rigid fictions of their own making, unable to see beyond these preconceived limitations. It feels now more than ever that we're seeing the final season of the Blue Bead. The fall of a beloved people who will never know the billions of lives they've touched in the brief time we've gotten to share with them. But then again, they've surprised us countless times before.